I love taking a piece of junk and making it into something useful. So today I'm going to take two pieces of junk, an old plastic barrel and a really worn out semi-tire, and I'm going to turn them into a super high-class, top-of-the-line mineral feeder for our cattle herd. If you'd like to learn how to do it, come along and help me. Hey there, thanks for turning down my road. If this is your first time here, my name's Carl. My little brother and I both work for local farmers full-time, but we both also farm together with our cattle herd and our hay operation. Everybody's involved, from the smallest to the biggest. If you don't have the joy of farming yourself, I'd love to help you experience it through this channel. Whatever your background, you found the right place. This is Dodge Brothers Farm and Ranch. So you're going to want to set your barrel down inside your tire to begin with and just mark out where the top of the tire meets the side of the barrel. It's important that you use a 24.5-inch semi-tire because a barrel will not fit through a 22.5-inch tire. So once you've got that spot marked out, you're going to want to take your tape measure and measure up 9 inches and make a mark. That's going to be the center of your hole. And if you want, you can go ahead and make a mark up at 18 inches as well, because that'll be the top of your hole. It kind of helps you visualize to make sure that you're on track. Okay, you could just freehand your hole opening onto the side of the barrel, but I wanted it to look nice, so I put this self-tapping screw in that center mark that I did 9 inches up from the top of the tire. And then I tied a piece of string to it and tied a marker to the end of the string 9 inches out from the center. And then you can just go around the circle and trace that opening right onto the side of the barrel. And even though you are moving in a circle, it ends up coming out looking like an oval, almost shaped like a cow's face. Because of the curvature of the side of the barrel, it comes out looking pretty good. So you want to get yourself a nice big drill bit so that you have enough room to get your Sawzall blade started. I used like a 7/8 drill bit here, and it worked really nice. And this next step is a lot easier if you have somebody to help you. If you have a second set of hands to keep the barrel from rolling away. I sort of improvised and set it on the edge of the tire and sat on the barrel for a while. And then when I did the other side, I just kind of pushed my knee and my foot into the bottom of the barrel. And it worked, but it would have been a lot easier if I would have had a helper at that point. And then I'm just taking my knife blade here and just removing all of the burrs from the edge of the opening. Okay, now it's time to fasten our barrel to the tire. So I measured the side of the tire and it's about 11 inches off the ground total. So I made a mark on the side of the barrel 6 inches up from the bottom. I made 4 marks equally spaced around the barrel, and we're going to drill holes to put our bolts through. So I'll be using a 6-inch long carriage bolt and a flat washer that fits over the square, and then a fender washer, a lock washer, and a nut. So it's important that when you stick that bolt through that washer that you have some square sticking out to catch on to your hole that you drilled through the barrel. That will help you to keep from having the bolt turn when you're trying to tighten the nut down. So you stick that through the barrel, put your fender washer on and your lock washer on, and then run that nut down as far as you can with your fingers before you want to get a wrench and start tightening it down. I grabbed a 3/4 inch wrench, and you want to tighten this down pretty well, as tightly as you can. You don't want this bolt to be wiggling around. Next, you want to get your last 2 bolts just started, but you don't want to thread the bolt out through the nut at all. You just want to have just all the hardware put together and started. Okay, so I missed a very important step. I was just about to put the barrel into the tire permanently, and I forgot that I had not installed my drag loop yet. So I'm drilling a hole in the side of the tire with a 1/2-inch drill bit, and then I'm going to be installing this through there with a fender washer on the back and 2 nuts on the back side of it, just so the nuts don't come loose. This was really hard to get put through the tire because of the steel cords that were sticking into the hole that I drilled. So I ended up just hauling off and kicking it finally to get it to go in there. I tried threading it through and that wasn't going to work. So just had to put the muck boots to it. Okay, now that we've got our drag loop in, we've got our 2 bolts sticking out the back and our other 2 bolts started in the front. This is another spot where I was a little disappointed because I had slightly deviated from the instructions that I'd read online about how to do this. I used 6-inch carriage bolts and they used 5-inch carriage bolts, and that made all the difference. I could not get those 2 bolts through there at the same time. I ended up having to loosen up the one just enough to push it back into the barrel a little bit and get it stuck through there. If I would have used 5-inch bolts, I think I would have been able to just drop it right through. So now that you've got your back 2 bolts permanently tight, you've got the barrel installed in the tire, then you can run your front 2 bolts out. And I found it was just easiest to spin them from inside the barrel and hold on to the outside with a wrench. And then you can tighten up the outside just as tight as you tightened up the other 2. And there you go. Look at that piece of equipment. You can hook onto that drag loop with an ATV and a chain or a rope and put this thing wherever you want in your pasture. It'll hold a fair amount of loose mineral, and if a cow tries to tip it over, she's going to have a hard time. Look at this. You can get it almost all the way over, and that tire still brings it back upright. This is a nice mineral feeder. One thing that I did forget to mention is I did drill holes in the bottom side of the tire, the side that's laying against the ground, before I put the barrel in there to begin with. The reason you want to do that is so that any water that runs down the side of the barrel and collects inside that tire can just drain away instead of sitting there and growing moss and breeding mosquitoes and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's nice just to drill, 7 or 8 half-inch drain holes in the bottom side of that tire to let your rainwater drain on through. This mineral feeder is going to do a really good job at protecting your mineral from the wind and the rain. It's not going to do quite as good as the store brand ones on the rain, and the reason is our store-bought mineral feeders have a weather vane on top of them that actually uses wind to rotate the mineral feeder away from the direction that the wind is coming from. There's no way to do that with this tire and barrel setup, but this entire project cost me $8. That was the cost of the bolts and the nuts and the washers at the farm store. So I don't expect it to perform quite as well as a store-bought one, but it's probably going to last longer. It's not going to tip over as many times because the store-bought feeders that you pull around on skids or that have a little stand to set them up on, the bulls tip those over all the time, and then all your mineral just goes all over the ground. This feeder is going to do a great job at not getting tipped over. And like I say, it costs next to nothing to put this together to begin with. And that is the real selling point of this mineral feeder. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll tune in next week to see how our cattle enjoy using the mineral feeder that we just made. I apologize for having the entire thing done with voiceover in the shop, but it's been too windy outside to do this project outside and get good audio. And inside the shop, there's always a nasty echo whenever I'm talking into the camera. So that was the best way to do it. If you have any questions or comments, drop them right down here in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. You'll get to see me every week. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Thanks for riding along. I'll see you next time.